Good afternoon, loved ones in the Makers Bar family. It's your boy Seth Garu Baxter with Makers Bar Podcast Bureau, where we're creating 1 million leaders today for tomorrow. I have this special privilege, one of my first guests when I began with Makers Bar, and I actually call him a dear friend. He has been a sounding board, and he's a genius that you guys have to continue to discover. I just find him fascinating, humorous, and just a great support of genius. Today, you guys get to know him as Dr. Mark Mark, help me with this.
Benaroia.
Benaroia, forgive me, Mark. Benaroia. But I've grown to know him as Mark, and I'm extremely pleased to have Mark with us today. This is a revisit to Mark and his expertise in the medical field. And we wanted to circle back because I couldn't find enough time to expose to you guys how incredible his brain is in his field. He is with First HX, and we are catching up with him today to see where First HX is, as well as seeing where healthcare is going, considering our recent elections. Also, just get some of his insights as far as his company, and just to talk about some of his advice and a couple of other pathways we'd like to discuss. Mark, how are you? And thank you for sharing your love with us today.
I am fantastic, Seth. It's amazing to be here again. I missed you.
Absolutely. I missed you too, Kat. Just thank you so much, dude. Just make me smile so much and make my heart feel warm at seeing your face again today, dude. Thank you for blessing us with that today.
Thank you.
So, Mark, for Makers Bar, let's catch up. In the last conversation we had, we talked about First HX. Tell us what's been going on with it and where you guys are at. And maybe it might be a good idea to explain First HX to the Makers Bar audience again, just a little bit insight to what is the organization, your involvement, and then go into where you guys are at right now.
Perfect. That's a great segue. So I'll start with who we are, what is First HX, and what my role is. So I'm the founder of First HX, and I have my co-founder as well. But I do executive board chairman work. But essentially, I do everything. The founder does everything from like deal with code and product to getting the coffee in the morning. I do everything, right? But so what is First HX? So I'm a physician, a nephrologist, a kidney specialist. I still practice. And what we do is we've created the digital twin of clinician cognitive reasoning. So that in actual fact, what that is we essentially have codified the question and the organic question-answer process that a patient goes through when they go seek medical attention to talk to a doctor. So essentially, that organic question and answer that you as a patient would go to, we have codified that the question and answer in like a digital physician, you can imagine. So we get and gather clinical data prior to the patient encounter. So imagine twinning me, creating me to exist prior to seeing me. And that is sort of the idea. So we're early on in the process. We start right at the beginning where you have an idea to see your physician either in the emergency department or the family doctor's office or specialty office or virtual care office. So we are positioned right at that point where you initially get a text to your phone and you do your medical history on your phone prior to seeing your doctor. Like that's where we're positioned. And so that information is smart, it's contextual and available to the doc prior to seeing the doc. So that's what First HX is in a nutshell. It's taken a long time to do it. I've been doing it for originally decades, but modern day First HX was 2017. So that's the old story. And as I said, I'm a doctor, but I also have a tech background. I used to do very early on did AI and ML or like AI type work in my university career when I was a lot younger in the 90s. But fast forward now, I work in this company. I love it, and I still do see patients. So that's that part. I think you're asking about where we're at.
Where's first HX at now? And then Mark, just before we get to there, if you don't mind, Mark,
Sure.
some of our first HX work, we got that you as a physician, as a kidney specialist, what is it that you do as a kidney specialist? So some of them can become familiar with some of your practice.
Very, very cool. So what nephrologists, so kidney specialists do is we deal with medical problems related to the kidney, and that could be anything that could be directed at the kidney, caused by the kidney, or caused by the body on the kidney. So it's a funny way of saying systemic diseases affect the kidneys, but you can also get diseases that are specific to the kidneys themselves. So as an example, I'll deal with diabetes and hypertension or high blood pressure effects on the kidneys, but I'll also deal with people who have rheumatologic diseases like lupus, and that can affect, and they're systemic diseases that affect the kidneys. And so we'll deal with a spectrum of kidney disease, whether it be acute or chronic. So acute is sudden onset disease processes, and chronic is seeing patients through from beginning of their journey of their kidney disease right to potentially when they reach a stage where they need to get dialysis or a kidney transplant. And then I'll also follow kidney transplants afterwards. But the goal, of course, is keep patients from end-stage renal disease. That's the purpose. That's my job. My job is to keep people healthy and to identify things I can do that can change the trajectory from kidney disease to kidney failure. Because that is my mission. My mission is to create health, right? In kidney patients.
Mark, if you don't mind, can you explain a little? I don't know that everyone understands rheumatological diseases. Can you elaborate a little bit further on that?
Sure. So think about diseases that can affect the immune system, and autoimmune diseases are what comes to mind. So autoimmune is your own body fighting yourself, and there's various reasons why that can happen. But imagine your body, instead of fighting infection or fighting what it was meant to do, to fight things that shouldn't be there, instead it thinks that part of your body shouldn't be there. And so it can develop these antibodies, proteins. Yeah, like it develops these proteins, or what you call antibodies, that will destroy parts of your body. So lupus is one of those disease processes, and it can harm the kidneys, it can harm the lungs, it can harm the brain, it can harm the blood cells, it can do a lot of things. And so the immune system, when it goes haywire and does not so good things, it can destroy organs. So our job is to identify it, prevent it, right? And treat the problems related. So that's one type of rheumatologic disease that people can have, but there's many other ones, but it's that autoimmune process. Yeah.
Mark, I want to ask something, and this is for me as a novice. I think sometimes we've heard the term lupus as a diagnosis, but I don't know that a lot of people understand about autoimmune diseases and lupus itself. Mark, can I ask, as a novice, just kind of following up with the last question, what is lupus?
Good question. So I'm not a rheumatologist, but I do have patients that have lupus. Think about lupus as a systemic disease where your body develops these proteins called antibodies that attack various organs and cells, and in doing so will create a lot of the issues that can come about. So if you imagine it's attacking a blood cell, well, then you can get anemia, right? You can imagine if it's attacking the kidneys, then you can get kidney failure. If it's attacking part of the brain, people can get seizures. So it's really one of those. It's really that. And lupus can be it could be an acquired, or it can be not acquired, right? So acquired meaning it could be secondary to medications or other things. We won't go into that. Or it can be not secondary to those things, and it's just a de novo lupus, we call it. Just it happens, right? Just because of your genetic makeup or just responding, your immune system responds in that way. But again, I'm not a rheumatologist, but that's sure. Kind of the gist of it. Yeah.
And now, first HX, as the interim doctor. Would that be a good term to describe? First aid checks comes in somewhat as the introductory doctor, so to speak. So
Perfect.
patients can come to Dr. Mark, and so Dr. Mark would say, due to my company First Aid Checks, we have this information. Can you elaborate a little further on how First Aid Checks fits into that square of things?
Perfect. So the current process of care is this. People identify that they need to see a physician, and they go, and let's say you need to go to the emergency department. They go and they register in the emergency department. They wait, and then they get triaged, or they triage first, then they wait if they're safe. And then they go in and sit into another room, and they wait for the nurses, then they wait, and they wait for the doctor, and then they wait again. And you see the process, right? That's what happens. And really, in there, you got the doctor, you got various people gathering data, right? So the triage nurse gathers data, and then the nurse gathers data and your vitals, and then or the triage nurse does, and then the doctor comes in and gathers data, and then they come back to you after they have other data, and then they come out with a diagnosis and treatment plan. That's the current process. So our purpose is to change that process. Instead of me spending time, 80% of the time, gathering your data when I see you, because we don't have a lot of time. We have 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Think about how much time you have with a skilled person that has all the information. We've got 5 minutes with you to extract the data from your brain and then figure out what to do with it and then come out with a diagnosis and treatment. But instead, if you just create a digital twin of me to take that history while you're sitting in the waiting room, it's lost time. Why not have me do the history in the waiting room without me being there? And that's the idea. So instead of now you shift all the work up front, and now the patient understands what might be asked. They are pre-engaged, call it. So they'll think about questions that the doctor might ask. It'll remember that our system thinks. It doesn't just ask the same questions all the time. It'll go through pathways and say, if you present with this, which question, if you are this age or have this symptom, it'll change and alter its process and its questions. And when that happens, different outputs occur and different pathways, but we'll always ask questions that need to be asked, and we'll document in a relevant way. We'll document the information so that when a doctor looks at it, within 2 to 3 seconds, I'll know what the diagnosis and what the treatment should be without even speaking to them, because all that data has already been collected. And so I'll get 85% of the data up front. And all I need to do now when I see you is spend 15% of the time gathering the rest of the data. Now, how much time do I have? I have a lot of time to talk to you about your disease process, what the therapies could be. You see, it changes the conversation now. Instead of me spending time where all that data, because really as a doc, what do I need? I'm an integration machine, right? What do I need? I need someone to feed me the information, and my role is to spit out the diagnosis and treatment. My role is not always to gather the data, right? The data can come to me in different ways, but why not spend time that's really value added, right? And that's what we're seeing in our system. We're seeing very high patient satisfaction scores, in 97% patient satisfaction, greater than 90% physician satisfaction. Physician satisfaction, they're happy with our system. Why? Because the doctor doesn't interact with our system. Patient does. The doctor interacts with the output. That's very unique in healthcare, because usually the doctor needs to record things or type things out or dictate something. In this case, they're already given the information. They didn't do the work. The patient did. So that's a very odd thing. And that's why doctors love our system. That's why we have so much more growth. This is a great segue to where we're at, right? But it's a unique thing, because for once as a doc, I don't have more administrative burden, if that makes sense. I don't need to do more things. I don't need to spend time wasting my time on something that is not value added. Getting data into the chart should be an automated process, right? And this is one way to use the patient as the resource. The patient, and I think I said this on my last one, the patient has all the information. We're just trained how to extract the information in an effective way in a small amount of time. And we're trained to know what to do with that data. That's all doctors do. We use our expertise, our tacit knowledge, our textbook knowledge, our experiential knowledge, essentially. And we do that to extract information so we come out with an output of what's wrong with you, right? That's what we do.
So now,
off, don't I?
no, not at all. So it actually led me into my next question. So I'm a patient who comes into a hospital, and now I'm having, we'll even say, a kidney issue. How do I know First HX is a participant in that hospital to maintain that doctor's visit? How does that work? How do I know I'm participating in the newfound systems that First HX is offering?
Good point. And so right now our footprint is growing, but it's small still, but we are growing rapidly. And the more time goes by, the more exponential growth we're going to have, because eventually people are seeing the value of these data collection systems. And the key here is we're not a form-based solution, right? Forms have a place. I never put down forms because there is a place for forms and filling out forms. But in this case, we are actually truly a dynamic, smart intake system. Like, we truly are a digital twin data collecting tool. We're not a form-based solution. And it means that, so how do you know they're participating? You'll know because when you go and you register, you'll be speaking to the triage nurse, and they'll say, or it could be even in your family doctor's office. So let's take hospitals out of it. It could be your virtual care visit, or a family doctor's visit, or a cardiology visit, or a nephrology visit. It doesn't matter where. And they'll say, hey, we're going to be sending a text to your phone. It's our intake system, First HX, the Dr. Benaroia nephrology clinic, or whatever that is. And they'll say, cool, because everyone loves it. Like, everyone is happy to fill it out. We have very high open rates, very high completion rates, and we just analyzed this data because someone told us, wow, there's no way older people are going to fill this out. So we said, wait a second, yes they are, and we brought our data out, and we have people from really young, less than I think 10, really young patients and families of young patients, all the way to like 96, right? And so senior people who are older absolutely know how to use a cell phone, and absolutely know how to tap on a text, and absolutely know how to point where their problem is on our body maps, So they know how to use our device because it's so simple. All they do is they point at their phone, right? It's very easy. So how do they know? They get a text to their phone, and then they complete it. And that's kind of how they know.
I'm so glad we got into this, Mark, because in our earlier conversation, we weren't able to delve into this. So I'm so really appreciative you got into that part of it. And I want to know it for myself as well. Now, here's the maybe challenging question. What is next? What's the next phase or First HX?
Yes. Before the next phase, I got to tell you the updates.
All right. Oh, yes, please.
So the updates, the big thing you want is you want to see growth, right? And so we just looked at this, and we just published on LinkedIn. So we're now, how different places say X number served or Y number served, right?
Yes.
I think we now passed 1.2 or 1.3 million served. Like it's
oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, Mark. That's fantastic, dude.
The team, like looking at the team, I'm like, wow, this is no longer just a blip, because you think like that means, and going from 0 to 1 million is slower than going from 1 to 2 million, right? Because now, and we looked at our numbers, we're somewhere around 3,000 to 3,500 patients a day now using the system. And so when we spoke, I think it was August. I forget.
It was August, early August. Yeah.
We were not like, we weren't there. I am like, the growth has been exponential. It really, and the validation has also happened. So we've got external third-party validation of the tech and the process and the product. So there's another really important thing, is that people ran our system and our tech through simulations and said, you know what? Yes, this thing works. This collects really smart physician grade data. This is real stuff. And that external validation was extremely important to us because it says that you can trust the data and the outputs. And then the growth was significant to us. So those are the two main things. But part of that is understanding new markets. So when we spoke last, we didn't have this previous part. Yes. Yeah, we've developed a product that is so significant, and we've already signed on multiple clinical research organizations. So it's our clinical trial, real-time clinical trial, patient recruitment, inclusion, exclusion. What that means is if you just go to the doctor for whatever reason, like you go to the cardiology, for your heart, you have some issue with the heart or a kidney or whatever, it doesn't matter. We can screen for different clinical trials in real time, and you're there for a completely different issue. And we can say, so for that participating doctor, we can say, meets the criteria for XYZ trial, right at the top. Whereas the current status is research people need to go into the chart, and they need to go and look at all the inclusion for the clinical trial and exclusion for the clinical trial. And now, in real time, it'll just screen people. So think about what that does for research. I know. It was mind-boggling to us.
It really is, dude. It really is, Kev.
Yeah, we coded this this part of the system, and we can stand up clinical trials so quickly that we've got a CRO, a clinical research organization in Texas that has signed on, and they just keep asking us to add more trials, and we're now starting to grow, and other CROs, we call them, are interested as well. As an example, our Chris, our CEO, he's at the American Heart Association. So we are now just this past weekend. He's still there today. We're now part of the American Heart Association Innovation Stream. So the AHA, yeah, and so he's speaking on a number of panels about First HX at the American Heart Association.
Congratulations, brother.
Yeah, and it's because they trust our data, they trust our outputs. We now have identified, along with the clinical research, trial inclusion. You can see why that's beneficial to patients and the industries, because it reduces the time to recruit new patients. The other thing we're finding is our data is valid, so that we can actually now use it to deal with guideline-directed medical therapy. So think about that. So let's say, give an example as congestive heart failure, our patients with heart failure. Only 13% of patients with heart failure in the United States are on the appropriate medications that are clinically validated medications for reducing the risk of cardiac death, reducing the risk of worsening cardiac failure, kidney disease, all of these things. And so we can use our data to advise physician offices, cardiology offices to say, hey, patient meets criteria for this drug, that drug, that drug. And so think about the power of that. Now you're getting people on appropriate medications with valid medications. We've got great data now that's structured, that you can do things with. So where have we come from when we talked to when we've spoken last?
This is showing it, dude. This is so great. I'm so glad that you've elaborated on this. It's extremely wild, and in such a great way. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and those are the big parts. That's the first part. The second part is, now that we've got all these people, and we've got data that's structured properly in the back end, because that's a big problem in healthcare, is structured data outputs and siloed medicine. So think about what you can use the data for if it's structured properly. So if you have information and it goes in and it's physician grade data, and then now you can take that, you can run AI algorithms on it and say, please find associations with X or Y or whatever. You can run it through GPT-4 or ChatGPT or whatever. You can now say, how many people are not on this drug? You can now say, tell me how to improve tell me how to screen for more kidney disease in my patient population. You can tell it to do things with the data that's there, because now the data is real. It's true data. It's structured data. And
in real time is what I'm saying.
In real time. And so that's what we're now finding, is that we can use our information to give our clients and the people that signed on to us, we can give them dashboards. We can say, here's how many patients you're seeing. Here's what they have. Here's what you should screen for. Like we can tell it, we can use the data to tell the clinician what they need to do with that information. We can say, you're seeing X more patients now. For some reason, you're seeing a lot of people with colds. You're seeing a lot of people with fevers and with sore throats. Please look at that. Like now you can actually use the data to determine like an outcome, right? So these are the things that we've noticed in the last 3 to 4 months since we've spoken. It's been an explosion of interest. So increased use, guideline-directed medical therapy, new products with the clinical trial pharma. We've hired more team members, an innovation and partnership team member, a chief of innovation and partnerships. Just so happens he also, we forayed more so in the mental health space. A very unmet need.
I wanted to get into that. I noticed some of that.
Yes.
Just before we get into that real quick. So now that you've hired more team, Mark,
yeah.
What's your leadership style now? You're growing now. So now it's not just Dr. Mark.
Yeah.
How has your leadership style changed since you've grown? If it has changed, maybe it hasn't changed.
Good question. You can feel it. We're in the transition zone now, where we now have to structure the company because it's getting larger. We have to structure the company a little differently. So we do need to structure the company in a way so that we can create better outcome metrics, better key performance indicators, more refined reporting structures. And part of this is just maturation, right? And the reason is, now that we have more clients and more growth, we need to keep track of those clients and those growth and the successes. We need to make sure we have touch points with them to make sure they're being well taken care of. So all of that changes the management style, but we're still very approachable. I'm still always available any time of day at whatever time zone. And so everyone knows they can call me and text me and everything, and I will answer the phone. And that's just me. So will our CEO. He will do the same thing. So will just about every executive. We're all doing the same thing. It's just now we're finding a little bit more structure in the team. So yeah.
Now, what's the next phase for First Stage X?
Next phase. Great question. So everyone always talks about growth. But the next phase is we're just about finished a fundraising round, right? So we were successful to fundraise, and now we've actually pivoted.
Mark, real quick, if I may, fundraise. Let's tap into that very quickly. How can people, if they're interested, to assist you in the fundraising and or support that? Is there, and maybe this might be where we go toward the end of our interview, but in the fundraising aspect, discuss that a little bit so people can look to inquire a little bit more how they can help support some of your fundraising efforts and or contact you to be a part of the fundraising efforts. I think that's extremely significant.
I agree. And so there's no way to grow without capital. Like that, you just can't, right? And so the reason is, so there's two things you can do capital for. You can invest in a company, and you can invest in a company to build something that hasn't been built, right? So think about that. So that's, you have an idea, you have a startup for an idea. So the way I was before, right? And you invest in the idea. Then that's called a pre-revenue, right? And then you invest. Then the other thing is, you can be pre-revenue, but you've actually built the thing that will make you the revenue. And so now you're investing in not to produce the product, but actually to scale the product and grow. So we're essentially a company that has produced the product, used the product in production, growing sales. And so the purpose of an investment in First Stage X, this is not a plug, by the way, for investment. That's not why I did this.
I know it's not, and our audience knows it's not.
But what it is you now putting money into us goes to scaling the product. Even because we have product market fit, we have validation of the product. So we're no longer building the thing. We need more people to hire so that we can sell more. right? So we know people want to be sold the product. We just don't have enough people to execute on the selling. And so it's a great problem to have, right? But it's where capital, we're raising money, and every time we raise money, we spend the money to hire people so that we grow faster. So that's what you want to be spending money on. You want to be spending money on growth personnel, sales, business development, and client success, and and integration. You want to spend money on that, because that is how to do it. So how can you support us? Because we are in the middle of a fundraising round, but we're almost at the tail end, and then we're opening a much larger one, and that is a much larger round which will give us the much greater push to scale extremely rapidly in multiple markets. So US, yes, Canada, and Middle East. So big growth. And so they can contact me at my email, right? So it's I'll spell it out. I'll spell it out at the end as well, or I might as well spell it out at the end probably.
Yeah, you can do it both times, bro. We still have time. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so it's mark.benaroia, BENAROIA at FIRSTHX.com, or just touch base with Seth, and Seth knows how to get in touch with me.
Oh yeah. This is my dude. So you guys, if you contact me, I would definitely be able to give you contact with Dr. Mark. And what my goal is, I'm going to surprise Dr. Mark with this. I'm going to try and have us have a twice a month segment on Ask Dr. Mark, so we can do something and First XX, so we can see about, because now that I've just realized how significant some of the updates of this is, I'd like us to be able to do that. And then even just questions that we can talk to Dr. Mark about. But please continue. Go ahead, my friend.
So where were we? We were talking about the next phase. Right?
Next phase, correct.
Right. So next phase is the growth phase, and so part of that was the fundraising. The segue from the fundraising is the growth is in multiple verticals, multiple markets. We need to get into larger swaths of the healthcare system that can be in virtual care, bricks and mortar hospitals. We're now scaling to channel partners, because we are a point solution.
Please forgive me. Now channeling into who?
Channel partners. So channel partners are people that have other solutions, and they need a history taking module, right? So the good part of us is we're not here to compete with like solutions that are out there and integrated. We're not competing with those people. We're here to add value to existing solutions, right? So we're not unseating incumbents. We're not displacing people. What we're doing is we're taking an existing process and we're making that process way more efficient with an existing process. So we plug into the electronic medical records. We plug into an existing platform. We plug into all these people, like we'll plug into billing solutions. So we don't really change your process much. We just make it very efficient so that upfront data is collected. So part of our growth strategy is channel partners and what we call stacked tech solutions. So that's integrating with other solutions that are already present in the existing process, right? And so what else is next for us is we need to grow the team. We need more salespeople. We need more integration people. We need to continue our fundraising efforts to support that. And we're going to be building out our clinical research organization module, which is quite significant. The other one I was going to say, and I didn't mention this before, maybe I did, is that we just opened our first veterinary medicine history-taking module. Okay, so think about that. So we now have something called Vet HX, which we license out to a veterinarian space. But really, animals are they're like people, but they're like people like kids, right? So think about pediatrics. The history comes from the parent for a child that is 5 years old, right? You might be able to do a few things here and there, like and try to ask the child and look for signs, but for the most part, it's the observations of the parent. So I don't know about you. I own a dog. The dog
I'm a
He's
huge
basically
dog
like
person,
my
so I'm
child.
so glad you said this.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
The
yes.
dog is it's one of my family members. The dog is my family member. It is one of my kids, you know? And so I speak to the dog like I will speak to my kids. The same, they're like part of the family. So when the dog has a problem, and I need to go to a vet, well, why not fill out smart? Oh, I heard the dog. That's your dog.
That's Archie. And he's, like I told you, and we talked about this sidebar
Yeah.
off camera. I'm a huge dog person, and Archie's one of my rescue dogs. And
Yeah.
having medical records for the dogs and having doctors
Right.
have this, having first HX, have
Right.
a vet app is
There you
tremendous to
go.
me. So
That was
that's
one of
Archie.
our, and so that's going to be probably a growth area. We think,
Absolutely.
although we're in humans, but why not? What they're mammals. Hey, why not? It's the same thing. And I have a rescue as well from Mexico. We got her. So she came with medical problems. We needed a vet, and we had observations we need to identify. But veterinarians have the same problems we have, and so that's what's next. It's really about growth and really growing fast. Like we know people need this. We have a large pipeline of people that in our pipeline. I think we have now 12 million in our pipeline of sales.
Congratulations, brother.
So, and that's really short period of time. And we keep adding to it, but we cannot execute because we don't have money to execute. So we are raising, and we're quite successful in our raises. It's getting there. But you could see that's sort of the next path for us is growth, exponential growth. So
exponential growth. And so Mark, now that we've explored some of where or caught up with where first HX is, and now some of the stuff which I'm really excited about, having the animal component with vet HX, which I really want to explore. Actually, before I even go any further, so the same application system that the hospitals have for human patients, that's the same application system for the animals.
Believe it or not, you can use our same tech backbone and populate it with veterinarian knowledge. It's the same. So our tech is very robust. You can apply it to anywhere where there are specialized knowledge needs. And so that's what's so neat is that our system's written and our backbone or our digital twin is written in such a way where you can use it for very different reasons where the same logic process is required. And so now veterinarians can use it as well. So it's pretty cool that way. And so another part of it is the elder care and nursing homes. So we're now pivoting. We've got clients now, hopefully going to start in the nursing home space. We're integrated in some large nursing home EMRs. Electronic medical records, but you can see how we can apply it to physiotherapists, chiropractors, dentists, anywhere. Like we can put this system anywhere where there's data needs in a structured way. So,
and so now that's a newer one to me too. So one of the updates we'll need to have next month or as it comes forward, because I'm capturing you, dude. We're going to have our Ask Dr. Mark segment coming up regularly. Perfect. But with the seniors, so that's something that's on the horizon. Is that what I was understanding?
We already have it. So it's already done. We are already on the marketplace of a major player called Point Click Care. And so if you go to their marketplace, we're there. We're integrated.
Point Click Care.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, so in thinking about that, Mark, the selection cycle has brought healthcare even in a larger sense of things, I think, than we've ever experienced before. What's your purview? Where's healthcare? What are you seeing with that?
Another great question. And so me being in Canada, obviously, there are differences between the Canadian and the American healthcare systems, but there's one common theme, right, with healthcare is that if you think about what the purpose of healthcare is, right? The purpose is
what is the purpose? Yes.
Yeah. So the purpose is really about keeping population healthy, and when they're not healthy, it's dealing with the sudden issue. So it's both acute and chronic care. And like the journey from
Mark, if you don't mind, explain some people, and I give all credibility of intelligence to our audience, but if you don't mind, explain the difference between acute care and chronic care.
Yes. So acute care relates to sudden things that happen to people, like let's say car accidents or traumas or infections that suddenly happen. Chronic care is when you have a condition that is like, say, diabetes or high blood pressure or kidney disease that exists in a long-term way, in a longitudinal way, that you need to treat over time. And so those are two different things. And the healthcare system should be structured for both, right? So as an example, the hospitals should be there so that you can deal with sudden illnesses quickly, treat them fast, so that you get them better and out, right? And out back to their house, their home, or discharge. The chronic care system is sort of like the primary care system and the infrastructure that supports not the hospital, but it kind of supports the hospital, but it supports the population at large. So we need a very good primary care healthcare system, and that is family doctors or family doctors or primary health teams, whether it be nurse practitioners, family doctors, and teams of people. We need those teams to keep people healthy and keep them out of hospital, right? So expensive patients are hospitalized patients. So wouldn't it be smart to spend money on healthy people? Vaccinations and nutrition and education, those are, and housing, right? Those are things that pay dividends for years because they reduce the amount of chronic disease. Because chronic disease or longitudinal diseases lead to hospitalizations, and those are expensive, right? And also lead to premature death. So premature death is bad. People should not die before their time.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if that's the right thing to laugh at, but yes.
But it's true. It's so simple.
It's true. It's very true.
It's so simple and laughable that it's such a simple thing. Keep people alive well. That means they go out with their friends. They spend money. They work. They help support the economy, right? But and so I know I'm getting around answering the question about the healthcare and the election, but so think about
this is important. I'm glad you're going this direction. This is important.
And so think about the parallels between Canada, the American market, the European market, anywhere in the world. Fundamentally, if you keep a population healthy, they will produce more stuff. They'll be happier. They'll be healthier, happier, spend money. They'll have fewer hospitalizations, fewer visits. But even so, there's nothing. I know offline we talked about making money in medicine. I get it. It's like it's important. You have to have an infrastructure to support innovation, and people do talk about, is it right to make money off of medicine or not? I'm not here to kind of argue the moral justice of either or. What I can say is, in medicine, in order to keep people healthy, because it's really a public good, you need to support the fundamental primary healthcare component. And so now let's pivot to the election, right? So I'm not an expert on the American healthcare system. I'm somewhat of an expert on the Canadian healthcare system because I work in it and I used to do health policy and so forth. So what I can tell you is there are significant problems with the system as it stands. It is not well supported to deal with acute care, meaning sudden episodic care. We're at capacity, over capacity, and we're not well versed and structured to take care of people with chronic conditions. And people are also living longer. And so the question is, do we need to have a fundamental redesign in the way we provide care to people? I'm just going to throw the question out there. Throw the question out there. People could debate either yes or no. So there's bad things about Canadian healthcare. There are good things about Canadian healthcare. There are bad things about American healthcare. There are good things about American healthcare. So there's shades of gray. There is no right or wrong. There's probably some sort of middle ground where there's gradients of right and wrong, and you can kind of meet in the middle. But I'm hoping that with technology, with things like First HX and technology, I'm hoping what we do is we take existing infrastructure and processes, and I'm hoping what will happen is that with the election, they allow more of these technological advancements to help with the current process of care, to reduce its cost and improve throughput and reduce errors and improve satisfaction. So all of these things. So the neat thing is, wouldn't it be neat to see more people faster with less effort? Well, sort of. Some people would say, well, then you're making more money. Well, again, I'm not talking about, but I'm saying, when people ask those questions, at the same time, if you have technology that can make people be seen faster but better, and you waste less of their time, then they can get back to work faster, right? Or they can see their loved ones faster, or they can get discharged from the hospital faster, or you can get new clinical trials faster. So you can see where technology like our technology, First HX, you can see where it doesn't have to be bad or good. It can be correct, right? The correct thing to do at this time. The correct thing to do at this time, at least the way we see it, is you support the existing infrastructure to just give the system a little bit of a breather. Give it a little bit of a break, so that we can spend less money on administration. And I know we talked about this before, but the costs in healthcare, we should be spending money on keeping people healthier, not filling out more forms. We should
preventatively. You're talking about preventatively keeping
Right.
people healthy. Preventatively seems to be overall, when we look at the long-term aspirations of our country, what will bring down the cost is keeping people healthy earlier, and then we'll save costs on the back end. Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely. So if you look at the cost of healthcare in Canada and the US, the biggest cost is administrative burden, is getting things through insurance and getting things covered by paperwork back and forth. I have to apply to the government to get certain drugs covered. So it's the same problems as the American market. We have the same issues where, in order to get things done, it takes more of my time and effort to fill out paperwork. Whereas, wouldn't it be smart to spend my time keeping people healthy, right? Like, as opposed to typing more things out, dictating more notes, and filling out more forms. First HX, here it is again. The goal of First HX is to remove administrative burden. So we've got large value here, and it's untapped value. And the resource is the patient. So we're not increasing the burden on the healthcare system. We're not increasing the burden of the nurse practitioner, the physician, the physiotherapist, the chiropractor. We're actually offloading it to the patient. The patient is the one that wants to do the work because it's for their own body. And that's what we're finding. So, boy, that was a long-winded answer about...
Not at all. No, Brother Mark, no, not at all. You previously mentioned a few moments ago, AI has some involvement in this. What's AI's involvement in this?
Good question. So I'm... Again, in the past, I mentioned I'm an old AI guy. So I'm like the circa 1995 AI. So the question is, what can AI do and what can't it do, right? AI can't really replace us. Can't replace physicians. And everyone talks about, we can't replace physicians yet. Well, I'll suffice it to say, in order to replace something, you have to replace all of that thing's experience with 100%. Like output, like you need to be certain, right? And so the idea is, AI is a supporter. AI and the things that surround AI should support the current process. It shouldn't replace the process, if that makes sense. So again, I'm going to use us as an example because it's the only thing I know. But First HX, the purpose is not to replace the physician, not to replace the nurse, not to replace the nurse practitioner, not to replace anyone. The purpose is to offload the tasks that should be automated off of the experts that should be spending their time with face time treating patients and diagnosing them. So that is sort of what AI should do, right? So I think that that's the right way to see it. So AI should be used to find patterns and determine better ways to utilize drugs and to determine potentially new drugs that we're not seeing in patterns, and to potentially potentially use use it in clinical decision support tools. Like, that's what AI should do, as opposed to try to diagnose and try to. It's very hard to diagnose because you need to have all the variables to do so. Boy, I mean, that's really hard. I mean, doctors don't have all the variables. So you need to train a system to use heuristics, otherwise known as rules of thumb and experience, to do it. And so we're far away from that because it's really, really hard, right? And so you get what I'm getting at. Is it shouldn't.
I do.
Replace us. It's got to be used as an adjunct to assist us.
A support system.
Assist the people, assist the humans, right? That's what we should be using AI for. At least that's my opinion. Again, it's my opinion only. Other people have other opinions, but that's sort of what I've seen over the years about how to use it effectively. So
now, Simar, you talked about the growth of First HX. You talked about where it's at right now and where it's going. Let's discuss this a little bit, because we tagged on this a little bit. I know it's a touchy subject for a lot of Americans, and in fact, it's a touchy subject for a lot of people. What's the state of healthcare today?
Oh boy,
it's a loaded question for sure. It's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
And just where you feel comfortable. What's the state of healthcare?
I think we're sort of at a tipping point. And what I mean by we're at a tipping point is we're at a point where we've outstretched our resources. There are a lot of patients, and too few humans to treat those patients, right? That's so skilled people down, patient numbers up, and more money going to administrative burden. So this, you could see the problem here. I think we're at a point where standard of living potentially can go down. It worries me because we've done such a great job, this country, and I'm talking about America.
Good. Yes, dude.
We've done with Canada, America. I'm not saying we're the same this way. Like, we share in terms of our ideology and in terms of our willingness to share medical information and data and studies. And standard of living. I'm worried that we're at a stage where will we be able to treat everyone? Will we have to turn people away? Will our standard and quality go down? And so I think we're at a tipping point, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that through the use of smart technology, I'm hopeful that won't happen. And so that's kind of where I think we're at, and that's in terms of current state.
Do you see it getting, so is that you see it as getting better, or is it more so now we have to wait? New administration is in. There's two different styles of thinking as far as healthcare goes. Are you seeing it, and this is without you having to make a political opinion, but do you see the direction going in a better situation for patients? Overall, a better thing for all of us? Is there a small place you fit with your opinion with that? How do you see that question?
Great question again. And so administration's last 4 years. But what I've noticed is healthcare is one of inertia. And if you look back 4 years ago, 4 years ago before that, 4 years ago before that, and you look at the history, there hasn't been a real large change in healthcare.
Oh my goodness, Mark, no one's mentioned this, so I'm glad you're saying this. I don't want to say too much, but this is such a great point. Please go ahead.
It's interesting though, and so I don't pretend to know about all the different programs like Medicare Advantage. I know a little bit, but as a Canadian, I do read about it. But what I do know is when you actually look at the rating systems and the different insurance companies and the structure of the insurance companies and Medicare versus Medicaid and the medical advantage type system, when you look at all of that, I noticed it doesn't change very quickly. which
Yes.
tells me that maybe it is administration agnostic. Maybe it doesn't matter what the administration is. And because it's such a large budget item and it takes so long to change things, it could be just one of those long, slow moving trains that just administration after administration just pushes forward a little bit. And the first, so
sounds like that. I know what you're saying.
And I think that's so I don't know if I see a lot of changes that maybe if you look at the stock market and you look at all the different healthcare insurance companies, you could see that some of them reacted to the change in administration because they thought, the change is great, is good for the Medicare Advantage versus not good for it. So you could see where this is going, but it's interesting. But when you looked at it, you saw the stocks go back and forth, and then they ended up in the exact same spot. So it's like, is it bad or is it good? We don't really know. And so I don't know if there's going to be much change, is what I think, because of this inertia issue. It just takes so long to change things. So that's the
inertia. I think the inertia makes sense. The inertia of it, and I don't know that I've heard anyone really address the fact that between the administrations, it hasn't changed too much, and we seem to be on the same track. So I think that's a very good point to bring in this. Mark, where can people contact you again, please, and where can they learn more about First HX?
Absolutely. So always go to our website, www.firsthx.com. That has all the information. We've got like a demo page, an info page where you can just contact any. It'll go through, filter through, and then one of the team members will send through, or directly Mark mark@firsthx.com. And I respond to everyone. I always email back. I always
I know you do. It's one of the things that has just made me love you more and just be so appreciative of your patience and just your diligence. It's just one of those great things about that. And then, Mark, I didn't get to do this part of late. What has been getting you to laugh? What has been making you laugh?
What has been getting me to laugh? Great.
And if not, then I have a great dirty joke. No.
Oh my goodness.
Totally kidding.
Laughter, laugh is great. Obviously, family, we talked about this before, family, friends. My kids make me laugh. My boys make me laugh. My friends make me laugh. That's what keeps me going. Family, friends, people, I've had patients, in really bad situations make me laugh, which is like, I'm like, wow, you're terminally ill, thinking about, not doing any more dialysis, for example, and you're comforting me, and we can share a joke together. Like, these are the things that kind of keep you going. It's a really cool way to kind of think about things that, boy, in your life, what do you really want? You want great relationships, great family. You want to be nice and kind to people. You have to realize that money doesn't make you happy. And I think we talked about that before. Like, having another fancy car, but having a really great laugh, that patient, that person, your family, that's what really drives. That's what drives me anyway. Hopefully it drives other people, but that's what drives me.
It does. Well, I think people like yourself, with your warmth and your kindness and what you exude, I know, like, each time I see your LinkedIn message, or if we text each other or we talk, it always makes me smile. And sometimes the radiation of your spirit radiates to me and gives me encouragement and a smile. And so it only can see how that reflects in your patience and what you've done. I am so serious, brother. We're going to have to figure out our schedule where we can start to do. I know you're really busy. I know you're very busy, but we're going to have to try and do a once a month, depending on the schedule. But this has made me really see that, because I think that some of the topics we talked about, where healthcare is going, and then some of the wealth of knowledge that you have, and then seeing some of the places First HX is going, I really like us to be able to do that. We're a segment with Dr. Mark each month. Let's figure out how we can do that, brother.
Let's do it. I love it. Good. Love the idea.
And then, bro, any words, and this is what I'd like to be able to conclude with to some extent. What are the words you're telling young people that might want to get into medical profession? What would be a piece of advice you can give to our young entrepreneurs and or interested persons of any gender that are interested to explore the medical field? What would you say to that?
Great question. So what I could say is I'm now 49 years old. Okay.
Yeah, you do.
And I started medicine in 1997. I might have ups and downs, but I cannot see myself taking a different path. My sleepless nights, it doesn't matter because everything was worth it, which is crazy, right?
Everything was worth it.
Everything, my time and effort and the amount of time and the sleepless nights, the studying, the meeting great people. The great thing about this is that in medicine, health is the one thing that grounds every single person, because it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, you get to interact with everyone. So imagine in your social circle, you'll see rich people, you'll see not so rich people, you'll see homeless people, you'll see people with mental disorders. It doesn't matter what. And you get to be so humbled by all of that. Like, how do you interact with so many different people on a daily basis and impact each of them equally? Because the person with lots of money or little money, they're the same. Like, that's crazy, right? It doesn't matter how much you might get access in certain circumstances. You might be able to pay for certain things, but the illness itself, you still have that illness. You still have to deal with it, treat, and deal with the complications of it. So it grounds us. And so it's one of the few professions in the world that truly is a grounding profession. And you cannot do this for money. Can't. There are easier ways to make money. If you want to make money, you have to go into a different profession. The ground rule is you need to be able to understand that you will not sleep properly, but you'll be okay with it, right? But you'll be okay with it. You'll be happy about it, and you'll wake up and you'll have your coffee and you'll be privileged, because at the end of the day, there's a person across from you that needs only your help, right? And they're not calling for other people. They're calling for you. Why? Because you're the only one who can help. And that is all you need to get out of the bed for. You wake up in the morning, and that is what you wake up to every morning. Like, honestly, Seth, can anything be more rewarding than that? Where someone who needs you can fix, and they walk out of there. Like, if that's not what motivates you, I mean, what do you motivate young people? Young people should think about that. This is a fantastic profession. Doesn't matter what people say or how people speak about doctors or the administrative burden. At the end of the day, you can go to sleep at night. You can sleep with your heart, and you can say, I've done everything I can to make that person's life better. That to me is why I do this, and why I would do exactly the same thing again. No regrets. Exactly the same. So that's my advice.
No regrets. Brother Mark, I love you so dearly, dude. And I just appreciate your support. I appreciate your smile. I appreciate your warmth. I appreciate your medical profession and what you've dedicated to. And I'm hoping more people really get to experience knowing that First HX is out there as a new technology. Please give out the address where people can check it out with you again, and Perfect. Just that they can know that they've had that experience, to know the clear address information to reach you, and or questions where they might be able to say, hey, Dr. Mark, I have a question.
Perfect. So again, www.firsthx.com, and it's mark.benaroia at firsthx.com. That's where I am.
And then Mark, we will be talking about what's our regular calendar date where we could do this. I just appreciate your support. I appreciate your love, and thank you so much for the positivity, dude.
I was going to say thanks, brother Seth. That's all I have to say.
Dude, thank you so much. You just make my heart feel so warm, and I just appreciate the smile you bring to my heart and the light you bring to the world. Ladies and gentlemen of Maker's Bar, we appreciate you checking us out one more time. Please press like. Share this if you like this content. Continue to send us your thoughts. Please, pardon me. please reach out to Dr. Mark. Let us know what you think. Maker's Bar is on the goal to create 1 million leaders today for tomorrow. And our goal is specifically with individuals like Dr. Mark. We love you and appreciate. And again, as I may say, the revolution begins here. The revolution is the love-olution, and it starts with you. Woke is not a term that just has started now. So we just don't use woke. We say stay woke in the sense that love more, share more, and believe that kindness exists. Kindness is within your power. So Love-olution begins with you. Peace, one love, family, and the Maker's Bar family. Dr. Mark, thank you so much, my good cat. We're going to be talking some more. It's your boy Seth Garu with Maker's Bar. We love you dearly. God bless.